Hello and welcome to AboutFACE Theatre presents 5 Questions With, and today's guest, Barbara Hammond. Barbara is a playwright whose plays include We Are Pussy Riot, the Trilogy and Terra, Firma, while her work has been seen at theatres such as the Magic Theatre, the Clurman and Theatre Squared. Her many recognitions include a Royal Court Commission, a University of Arkansas New Play Award, a New Frontiers Award, and an Helen Merrill Distinguished Playwright Award. In addition, she's a resident playwright at New Dramatists. Barbara, you're very welcome.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's great to see you guys.
Yeah, it's a pleasure seeing you too. So, Barbara, can you tell us about the first play or experience that got you into theater?
Yeah, really. When I was a child, I was born in Wisconsin, and the local public schools had a summer program where now it just seems so sweet and quaint. But they rehearse two plays a summer with children in them, and then they would take a wagon that they would hitch to the back of a truck and bring the wagon to the public parks in the area. And you did like a week of 4 or 5 performances, and each of the parks had their own setup, and they put up a curtain behind it for the privacy behind, and we do a play. And I did from the age of 6 to 10, I did 2 plays each summer. And and it was kind of the late 70s when now I realize when I look back at who the directors were and who the people were, they were really kind of edgy, interesting people who were like thinking differently about theater, even though we were doing, The Wizard of Oz and Princess and the Pea, but they were kind of subversive people that were directing. And I just loved the kind of the informality of being able to stand in front of people and have things that you've rehearsed that you're doing in front of other children who are kind of on a picnic blanket, watching a play, doing something that the occasion of it was very exciting to me. And the idea that we were bringing culture into a community where most of what they're doing is kind of the same, kind of sports and TV and kind of a general American existence, Midwestern existence, and then to bring in theater was so different. It felt really good, and I have to admit that I didn't care for or continue. I didn't do any musicals like the high school kind of world. I kind of disliked that, and I don't know why exactly, but it just felt more, I guess maybe it was inside that what we were doing seemed so wild and different, and then the idea of doing something more controlled already didn't appeal to me at 15. So I would say that, and then the second thing that really got me to start writing theater, I knew I wanted to be a writer from very young age, 4 or 5 years old. That's all I never thought, I'm going to be an actor or I'm going to be a director. I was always knew I was going to be a writer. And I took a course at Hunter College when I got to New York at 21. It was Stanley Kaufman did a course called, it was his favorite plays in the English language since World War II. And he would take half the class and talk about the biography of the playwright up to the point where they wrote that play. And then we'd do the play. And it was like a PhD seminar. So all the people knew everything about theater. And I was 21 and didn't know anything. But after the first class, I thought, oh, I'm a playwright. That's the kind of writing I'm going to do. And it was so I never stepped back from that. I just thought, oh, this is the kind of writer I'm going to be. And instead of the final paper, I handed him the first play that I'd ever written. Now I realize how he was a 80 at the time. He should have been retired, and he was an older teacher, and that probably gave him more compassion for me. So that's how I got my start in theater.
Fantastic.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so Barbara, so you're talking there about, the favorite plays of the 20th century and things. So what's a great play that you love and why?
So much of my love for plays kind of coincide with productions of plays that I've loved. It's hard to separate them in some ways, but I would say the play that I consistently think about and go back to is Uncle Vanya. That Chekhov for me has always been the guy who thought about people's lives from the interior in a very beautiful way, and had a compassion for people even as he was hard on them. He was honest about them. And the fact that every time you see a production of any Chekhov play, that the characters really mold to the actor so beautifully that you feel that it's that actor and the character are one in a way that even if you've seen it 5 times, you believe this person is Chekhov, is Vanya right now, or Elena, and that maybe it's because I've seen that play so many times, but there's something about Vanya that really, I guess, what it encapsulates the thing that I've always wanted to do with my plays, which is the personal and the political, and to be able to combine, to really know that everything comes down to how you live your life from the interior, that your interior life is unknowable and yet still so important to try to know oneself, and that is the only possible solution for any of the world's problems, is for people to begin to know themselves. Now, it's not all they have to do, but I do think that that's the beginning point. And if you see a play and leave thinking about yourself and thinking about, I think that's almost the best way to leave a play, thinking about what you thought you knew that you maybe are wrong about, or a question that you never asked yourself about your own existence that you begin to question. And that's why those great plays that think that the characters go through something so cathartic and so genuine that you can't help but think about what's cathartic in my life, and what's stagnant, and what's real and what's authentic, because so much of life is theater, and we're all kind of living these parallel lives. And at times it's very useful as a person to be able to go through the motions, to be able to act your way through certain parts of your day. I think is a necessary skill that but to live that way your whole life is a tragedy. So I think Vanya really encapsulates a lot of that for me.
Yeah,
Right.
Definitely.
Nice.
Excellent. So can you tell us about a time in your theater life where things turned out differently than you expected them to? Never, right? Never.
When has it not? Well, isn't that the thing about theater that's so fantastic and so frightening, is that you can't control the elements of it, and the most surprising things happen in rehearsals and in the room, and with audiences. The things that happen are kind of exactly why you're in theater in the first place, to kind of take those risks. And I would say that having the most surprising thing to me, I think, is when I saw a character a particular way, and then it's cast differently than I thought it would be cast, and I'm amazed by what happens in a good way. Like that I think has been the most satisfying surprise that I've gotten. I've been from actors when they interpret the role and take it further than I could have hoped that someone would. That's I think the most beautiful thing to see. And then I suppose there's the one, you always have funny experiences that are not so wonderful. But I remember I'd had the kind of luxury of being involved in a lot of the original productions of my plays, and even the one act plays, that I'd be in the rehearsal and I'd be around, and some small theater company did asked if they could do my one act called Breakfast in the Hamptons, and I said sure, and I just thought, oh, I'll just go. When I brought some friends and we went to see it. And for some inexplicable reason, the main actor, who's supposed to come out in the beginning of the play, it's set by a big swimming pool in the Hamptons, and he's in a sarong, but he started eating bananas, or started eating a banana during, which is not in the script. It's fine, that people make choices. In the 20 minutes, he ate 6 bananas, 6 bananas for no reason. And I was told afterwards. So I was in the front row with my friends, and I couldn't stop laughing. I mean, the stakes were not that high for me, so it wasn't like I was upset or mortified or anything like that. I just thought, what the hell is going on? And it didn't stop. And every time he peeled another banana, I could almost not. It was like, when you're in church when you're a little kid and you're trying not to laugh. It's such an exquisite feeling, by the way, that I hadn't had since I was about 10. And I had this same thing, because of course you don't want to make anyone uncomfortable, or they knew it was the playwright in the front row and I should be laughing, but what else could I do? And that was the most surprising thing that's ever happened to me in theater. And I heard afterwards, I said, well, why did he choose to? Was that a director's choice or an actor's choice? And the director said that this kid was a method actor who just felt that very strongly that the character was hungry for bananas. So that's kind of like that off Broadway theater experience that you think doesn't really happen, but
it does. It happens. Oh my goodness.
Well, that's
a story I wasn't expecting to tell. I hadn't thought about that until this moment.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Okay, so banana incidents aside, you talked about how you knew from early doors that you wanted to be a playwright, and you've worked in this area for a long time now. So what is it that keeps you coming back to the theater? What moves you? What excites you about theater?
Yeah, I've done some television writing in the last few years that has been very fun, like really interesting to do, and really kind of satisfying in a craft kind of way. Mm-hmm. But it's not, and even you can create rich characters. You can do a lot that is like playwriting. Mm-hmm. But what you're not doing is creating your own world, and you're not. It's not your art. It's not your, you can suggest a point of view. You can suggest where things are going, or you can suggest even the meaning of the whole thing. But it's not yours to decide. Whereas a play is 100% the medium of the playwright. I know that people can argue about that, but I think it's a playwright's medium. And that so after I haven't written a play in a couple of years, because I've been busy working on television, and the pandemic kind of shut everything down anyway. And I just started back to theater writing, and it just feels like heaven. It's like so amazing to think this. Now I'm writing a play. This is a world that I can go anywhere, and knowing also that theater people will go with me, that there's nothing that is outside the realm of yes. People will say yes, and people will try, and will I think that brings me to kind of the answer to your question is I there are discouraging things about theater, but I do think that theater people are just sublime. I'm just so glad for all the people that I know that I've met through theater, because you also get to know people even briefly in a very deep way. And you might not even know they're biographical details, and you don't need to. And that's one of the extraordinary things about you. If you're in a room and you do, like we've done readings together, and so I feel like I know you both.
Yeah.
Now, I couldn't tell you how many siblings you have, or exactly what neighborhood you grew up in, or what else, just there's a number of things I don't know, but I feel like I truly know you because I've watched you work. And that you don't feel like that when you're an accountant, and you don't even feel like that when you're a psychiatrist. I've thought about that with like some of the fields that, like psychology or sociology or anthropology, the things with journalism, things that really are interested in the human condition. The thing that's different about theater is that you as actors have to inhabit. You're not talking about how to be a human being. You have to become that human being, and you have nothing between you and that. You can't hide behind the words about it. You have to become something. And I think that the alchemy in the room, when that's really happening, is like one of the best things in life. And so I would say that the main thing that brings me back to theater is actors. That relationship between actor and playwright, I think, is kind of divine, because I can go really far with what I write. I'll push it as far as I can into the unknown of the human spirit, but don't ask me to do it. That requires the bravery and the commitment, and what I think I'm very cognizant of now is the commitment of all of us. That in the real lives that we're living outside of the doing of the theater is a sacrifice. It's a sacrifice of different kinds of lives that you could have had that might have been easier, certainly would have been more known. But part of our job is to express, to show, because audiences are often coming from the known world and they have known lives, and they're coming because they want to know what it's like in the unknown. And there we are. So
beautiful.
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
I love that, Barbara.
You gave me the alchemy, so I was getting chill. I got the chills. I was like, oh, because I love that, and there is something so divine about that. Yeah, that alchemy and that coming together, and playwright and actor, and so can you is there a skill, you mentioned like commitment there, and but is there a skill that you've kind of acquired in your theater life that you found useful outside of your theater life?
I'd say the biggest skill is observation, of listening and observing, and the knowing that what people say is not what they mean. That just interpreting things based on the words that they say is not good enough, and that whatever interaction you're having, whether it's buying a coffee on the street or something higher stakes than that, just knowing that whatever the person's lines are that they wrote themselves could be said a number of different ways. And because we know that from our world and our work, it's a nice thing to like the tool to have when you're interacting with people, to know that maybe they're saying something because they're hiding how they're really feeling. Maybe they're saying something because they are hiding it consciously or unconsciously. Maybe it is straightforward. Maybe it's holding back. It's just trying to hold back tears, so they're saying it. There's all the different things that are possible in human in a human interaction, and how language, And I guess, funnily enough, as a playwright, I feel like one of the things I have pulled back from as I writing over many years and having productions of work is that my reliance on language has diminished. And because there's so much more than words to the human experience, to how we really are with each other, and allowing for more space for action and inaction is really helpful. And I would say also the other real, like, just practical skill is knowing that all the forms of communication that we now have, like email and texting and even phone conversations, like each one of them is taking away part of the information that we're used to getting from each other. So Zoom is, to me, is like pretty good. Here we are, like we're looking at each other and we can see each other, but we're each in a frame.
Yeah.
And we can't we can't smell each other. We can't, all the things that are part of, I don't know what you're wearing under there, what's in your bag, all that. There's all these parts, the information bits that start to get taken away. And you can see how people with emails can get into disagreements because we're putting so much on the words. We're putting too much weight on the words alone. And that's why, not to go off on a tangent, but why novels can be so amazing, because you think that a person was able to do all of it. One writer was able to create a world that clearly we each read with something different in our visual mind, but there's something about a collective imagination that can see the same thing. And it's almost the opposite of what a play can do, because a play, you have to have a blueprint for what is possible. And you can reinterpret, like Shakespeare, you can reinterpret these plays in ways that last for centuries and mean something different to people in different parts of the world, in different times, in different circumstances. So there's, I realizing what drama is and how it plays out in lives, I guess, is a skill that I value a lot.
Yeah. Huge. Yeah.
Well, Barbara, this has been beautiful. Thank you so much. Oh my
You're
gosh.
welcome.
Just as a bonus question, can you tell us anything about what you're working on at the moment?
Oh, yes. I just actually met with the director I've been working with at the Magic Theater. And we're going to start developing my new play, which I guess I'll say that's a first. I'm really, it's early stages, but it's called The Pole. And that's my latest project. I actually have 3 plays that I'm working on right now. I came from not having an idea for a long time to suddenly having a lot going on in my head. So I'm in that kind of delicious stage of development right now. So I think I've got a nice year ahead of me of working on seeing what comes from the spark that I've started.
Nice. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's exciting.
A wave that was being held back, Barbara, that's suddenly being unleashed.
That's right.
Well, Barbara, thank you so much.
You're welcome. It's delightful to see you guys and to be part of this. I love what you're doing here.
Thank you. And thank you to you, the audience, for joining us. If you enjoyed the interview, please like below, follow AboutFACE, and share, because we believe theater makes life better. See you next time on AboutFACE Theater Presents 5 Questions With.
If you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe to us on YouTube, like us on Facebook, and share. Thanks for watching.